All right, so this is the lecture video on how to do the allegations. So allegations would be if you are instructed to make a certain percent and quantity of an item that you only have different percents and strengths, or percent strengths and quantity of in your pharmacy stock. So this here is the formula. It's set up in a tic-tac-toe formulation. In your top left-hand corner is where you put your high strength. In the bottom left-hand corner is where you put your low strength. The high and low strength are going to be the strengths of the products that you have in stock to work with. Okay. In the center, you're going to have your desired strength. This is the amount that you're trying to make. This is the strength that you're trying to make. This is what's been ordered. So you'll place that in the center. From there, you're going to subtract diagonally. So your high strength and your desired strength will give you A. Subtract low strength and desired strength to get B. Now there's no negatives, okay? So if this is higher than this, you're still going to subtract properly. So if this is 5 and your high strength is 4, you're going to subtract, which is going to give you 1. Okay, so no negatives there. Once you get A and B, you're going to add those together to get your total parts. Okay, so you're going to add A and B together, which will give you your total parts. Then you're going to do this next portion. So for the first part, you're going to take your total quantity, which is the amount you're trying to make, so 500 mLs, okay, whatever's been ordered, divided by your total parts, which is what you figured out subtracting A and B. And then you're going to multiply that by the number that is sitting in A spot. So if this was 4, you would multiply that by 4. Here, total quantity over your total parts is exactly the same as above, but you're going to multiply what is ever in B spot. Okay, so go ahead and pause this video here so you can write down the formula and then pick back up, because we're going to continue on. Now, couple things to know, okay? Let's say your problem says so here it says prepare 80 grams of a 1% using 2% and a base cream. Okay, well, you notice that there's no strength on the base cream. Okay, so when you're going to plug it into your formula, you know you're preparing 1%, that's my desired. My 2% is my high strength, but what is my low strength? So anytime it says base cream, base ointment, sterile water for injection, bacteriostatic water, anything that is a water base, specifically water, or anything that is a base cream or a base ointment, will always get a 0. It's a 0% strength. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this problem here. So again, subtracting down, excuse my dogs, 2 minus 1 is 1. 0 minus 1, remember? Hold on, let me get my dog. Remember that there's no negatives, okay? Sorry about that. So now we have A and B, okay? So we add those together and we get 2 total parts, okay? So here, 80 grams is my total quantity, because that's what I'm preparing, divided by my total parts, times A, which is 1, okay? And you're going to do that So 80 divided by 2 is 40, times 1 is 40. So you get 40 grams of 0%. So wherever you're multiplying by a spot, that is what represents the percentage, okay? So when we do 80 divided by 2 times B, which again is 1, here, that represents the 2. So we still get 40 grams of 2%. Now the way to check yourself is adding what you get. So adding your two answers, 40 grams plus 40 grams is 80 grams, which is the quantity that we are trying to make, okay? So we're going to do a couple more. All right, so number 2. Again, this is a little bit different here. It says prepare 500 milliliters of a 7.5. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make my little tic-tac-toe. And it says to prepare a 7.5. So I know that is the strength I'm trying to make. But here it says using D10W and sterile water for injection. When you see something written like this, D10W, that's 10%. D5W is 5%. NS is 0.9%. Half NS is 0.45%. So if you want to pause here, you can to write these down, okay, so you know what they represent. So I know that D10W is my 10%. That's my high strength. And remember what I said about water. Swiffy, sterile water for injection. That means it's got a 0%. Okay? So subtracting here, remember no negatives. You get 7.5. Okay? And then 10 minus your 7.5 gives you 2.5. And that is in your A spot. So remember that we have to add 2.5 and 7.5 together, so we get 10 total parts. Okay, so now my total quantity. I'm preparing 500 mLs over my 10 total parts times A, which is 2.5 in the A spot. So 500 divided by 10 times 2.5, and I get 125 mLs of, remember, straight across, 0%. Total quantity over total parts, that's exactly the same, but we're going to multiply by the number in B spot. And you get 375 milliliters of, and again, B represents the 10%. So when you add 375 and 125, you get the total 500 milliliters that you are trying to prepare. Okay? So this one says, prepare 100 grams of 5% cream using a 2% and a 3%. So the 2 and 3% is what I physically have in my hand to be able to make the 5%. So you're going to place that into your tic-tac-toe formula, okay? Remember, your high and low strength is what you physically have in hand to make it. So 3 and 2, and I want to make a 5, okay? Subtract here, remember no negatives. So A is 2 and B is 3. Add those together for 5 total parts. Total quantity is 100 grams over my 5 total parts times A, which is 2. So 100 divided by 5 is 20 times 2. We get 40. So 40 grams of A represents the 2%. Repeat this process, 100 grams over your 5 total parts times B, which is 3. And you get 60 grams of your 3%. Add 60 and 40, and you get the 100 grams that you were trying to make. Okay? So again, remember when you see things written out, right? You have to have a high, a low, and a desired strength to be able to use the allegations. Okay? So anything that is written, D5W, that is 5%. D10W, 10%. D7.5W, 7.5%. D50, 50%. Normal saline is 0.9%. Half normal saline is 0.45%. Okay? Again, I would write these down. This is what these represent. So if you have a problem that just says D5W and sterile water, 5% is your high strength, 0% for the sterile water is your low strength. Okay? If you have any questions, please feel to call me or email me.